Okay, so we're going to go through the tools real quick as to what you need to do this job. This is somewhat specific. I'll explain it as I go along as well. For 2003 Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo, and this probably actually works on any Jeep Grand Cherokee from 99 to 2004. What do you need? You need a tool. First of all, you need the tools to get the lug nut off, my breaker bar and my T-bar. The lug nuts are fairly loose already. After that, you need needle nose pliers to get the cotter pin out of the end of the axle. You need a couple sockets to get the brake caliper and the mounting bracket for the brake caliper off. Those are, the brake caliper bolts are 17 mil, which I've got on here right now, and the bracket bolts are 18 mil, which is this one. What else do you need? Then you need the socket to get the spindle nut off of the axle. On this Jeep, it is, the socket size is 1 7/16 inches. You also might need a person to step on the brakes. The hub bearing, the assembly for it, has 3 bolts in it. You need a 13mm 12-point socket or wrench. It is 12-point. It isn't 6-point. It is a 12-point socket. It's a 12-point bolt. As in, you can't use a 6-point. You need a C-clamp, basically just to get the brake caliper off, to compress the cylinder back down. And what I found very handy, if you're not looking to mangle and destroy your hub assembly, use a wheel puller to get it off. You'll also need the correct socket size for the end of the wheel puller to turn it. This wheel puller, that is a 3/4 inch socket. I've got a cheater bar for the socket wrenches, paper towels, and WD-40. So with that, we're going to do the driver's side now. And yeah, we'll see what happens. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, we are here with the Jeep. Hopefully you can hear me while I'm back here as well. So, we are going to do the passenger axle first. Now, I know what some people are thinking. You can do this easier if you have a pneumatic gun, etc., etc. Yes, you can, and I actually have one in the garage. 2 things. One, I've never used one before, and I don't want to go messing around with someone else's shit. More importantly, though, I want to show how this is done with basic tools to help those of us who aren't as lucky to have high-grade equipment. So, we're going to do it like this. If you're using a T-bar or a breaker bar to get the lugs off of your wheel, remember not to jack up your wheel beforehand, so that way there's weight sitting on the wheel so the wheel doesn't spin while you're trying to turn the lugs. I can't count how many times I've fucking done that, where I've jacked it up and then gone to loosen the lugs and gone, oh fuck, and had to take it all down and shit. You know, just, and I'm sure plenty of people, you know, you see this video but you're still gonna do it, because that's what happened with me. Okay, get them cracked. Nope. You just take them off. Now the lug nuts are big, so you don't really have to worry about this, but when we start getting into the smaller hardware, the smaller bolts and nuts and stuff, I'm going to have a container specifically set up to put those in so I don't lose them in the grass and gravel and whatnot. Okay, these are actually loose enough so I can jack it up now and then take the rest of them off so I can get the wheel off. Okay, now yes, there is the floor jack that I'm about to use to jack up the car, but you always want an extra support underneath in case one of the supports fails. And although I don't think I've ever seen a floor jack fail before, I'm paranoid. I would rather be safe than sorry. Also, if you can avoid it, don't do this shit on gravel, because well, it's not easy to wheel shit around. It's gonna be really uncomfortable kneeling later. Luckily, I've got a mat like that. Okay, wheel is off. Now, I'm gonna make note of this now. You've got your rotor brake caliper with the brake pads in it, and what you also are gonna need to take off is the spindle nut, which is behind this covering. The thing about the spindle nut is you're gonna go crank down on it, and it's not gonna, you know, the wheel's gonna spin like with the tire. So what you're gonna want to do is, if you have a second person, just have them step on the brakes and hold it while you crack the nut. If you don't, well, I'm about to figure out how to prop the brakes on so that way I can do that anyway. So I'm gonna come back after I have all that set up and I'm ready to go. And we're back. Okay. So I'm gonna get a close-up right here. Spindle nut is behind this thing right here, and you got a cotter pin that comes through. Bend these back and slide the cotter pin out, which is what I'm going to do right now. Now it might take some wiggling and bending because it is rusted. I'm going to use some WD-40. Basic engineering rule. If it doesn't move and it should, you got WD-40. If it moves and it shouldn't move, you got duct tape. I don't think I'm going to need duct tape on this job. Thank God. I did on one of the other ones I had. My exhaust broke. One part of it was moving when it shouldn't have. So, you know, I just duct taped it back together. Okay, there's the cotter pin and the cap and the little washer thing that goes on behind it. Don't lose any of that. You might need it later. I need paper towels. Okay, now we're about to find out if my trick for locking the brake worked. It didn't, not even a little bit. We'll be back in a minute. Alright guys, I'm back. I gave up on trying to figure out how to fucking get the brakes to lock on their own, so I just called somebody to come by and step on the brake. So now it's loose. So, you may need to find somebody, I don't know, go ask a neighbor. They just step on the brake and you just crank down on it and it'll... Put it together already? No, I'm taking it off. Oh. Well. There's the nut and the washer that goes on behind it. Now next step, you have to get the brake caliper and the mounting bracket off. The only question I got is, do I want to do that separately? I'll fucking do it separately. Okay. Now the bolts for the caliper are a 17 millimeter. And always remember to go lefty-loosey. This is a trick to get leverage on a box wrench. You hook another box wrench into it. I'll show you close. Pretty sure that's correct. So if you need it to go one way, you hook it on like that. And, well, I need both hands, I think. Unless I can pivot my arm. But yeah, that's how you'd do it. You'd hook them together like that. If I need to go the other way, I'd hook it on the other side. Okay, now when you're taking a brake caliper off, and if I ever do a brake job, I'll record it, I'll say it again. Chances are you'll need to compress the brake cylinder. To do that, you take a C-clamp. One end on the back of the caliper like that, and the other end goes on here on the exterior brake pad. And that will pull. What that's doing is it's pulling the caliper that way, pushing the cylinder in. I'll show you the cylinder after I go. Don't need it to go too much, just enough to get it off. This has got 2 cylinders on it. You can see that. You need to compress them. Now, the other big thing is you've got a brake hose. Hook tape. Oh, fuck. I think a bug flew in my mouth. Anyway, you got the brake line, brake hose hooked up to it, so you can't just disconnect this. Otherwise, you got to do a whole lot of other work with recompressing it and shit. You don't want to deal with any of that. So the best thing you can do find somewhere to rest it. You may even want to put a bungee cord around it so it doesn't move, but we'll see if it'll just stay like that for now. Okay, now the mounting bracket, which also has the brake caliper, the brake pads in it, that is an 18 millimeter, and the bolts for that are these 2 right here. Hopefully I'm getting the correct angle. These, what I've found is that they are tougher because they're more covered in rust. They don't come off as often as the caliper bolts do. So, yeah. Put the 40 on. That'll help a little bit. Uh-oh, wait. No, that didn't loosen it. Okay. Something to be aware of when dealing with 6-point bolts and nuts is sometimes if you use a 12-point socket or wrench, you're risking stripping the head, and that's kind of what's going on. So I want a 6-point socket. That is an 18 millimeter. I'm going to get the 6-point. Hopefully that'll be better. And I've got my cheater bar. There we go. Okay, something else. Leave that other bolt in until you crack the other one. Otherwise, you're gonna have to spinning around and shit. It's just not fun. Oh, for the love of God. Also, I forgot to point this out when I started. Don't forget that you can turn the wheels to get more clearance in the nuts. That's why my wheel is cocked right now. Because with it cocked, I turned it all the way to the left. I'm on the right, the passenger side right now. The brake caliper is in the back of the rotor, so I have, it's angled out towards me, so I have more room to work. I can get in better. When I pull the axle out, I'll be re-straightening the wheel, because, you know, I can't curve an axle around a bend like that. But just getting the bolts out, that doesn't fucking matter. Okay. And there's the mounting bracket and the brake pads. Okay. Now, the rotor, just fucking sort of knock off. It should not. Maybe it's gonna use it. I'm an idiot. Where's my hammer? I'm really dumb. What the fuck did I do with my hammer? There. Okay. Sometimes they can be a pain in the ass to get off. Okay. Next part. The hub bearing assembly. This like crease right here is where it breaks apart from the steering knuckle. You've got 3 bolts. One, 2, and 3. That's a really up close shot. Okay. Now, those are 13 millimeter 12-point bolts, which means you need a 12-point wrench. Last time I did this, I pulled off. Those hubs are only a couple years old. Last time I did this, I used the 13-point wrench, that's all I had, but I went to Home Depot and bought the socket. Figured I'd give that a shot. Just gonna double check that. It is the right size. Okay. And it's a 1/2-inch drive. This is not a 1/2 inch. I need the 1/2-inch drive. Okay. Now, something to remember, these can be very, very fucking rusty. There is a chance I will have to go get my blowtorch in a few minutes. These up. We'll find out this. Hopefully, I don't have to, because these were just taken off a couple of years ago. Nope, it just cracked. That's one. If I'm being totally honest, the last time I did this, I actually had to step on it. At least that one I did. The other two I did manage to get with my hand after the tornado, but that one I put my foot on it. My weight onto it. Okay, remember that thing I said before about turning the wheel? Yeah, this one is over here. So I'm gonna go the wheel in the other direction. Okay, all three bolts are out. I'm going to straighten the wheel back out for the next one. Okay, the next part is actually getting the hub assembly off of the steering knuckle. Now, the last time I did this, I was taking an old one off and putting a brand new one on, so I didn't really care, and I beat the holy hell out of it with a mallet, which mangled the edges. I don't want to do that this time. But there's a lot of rust. Like a whole lot. Alright. I'll be back as soon as I come up with an idea. Alright guys, I got it. It just fucking exploded. I'll be sure to record that on the next one. Yeah, last time I beat the hell out of it with a sledge, but I tried the wheel puller this time. And, well, it's hard to crank down on it when it's tight, but when you do, you crank down enough, eventually you'll just pull it right off. Perfect. Okay. Slide that off. Now, this is the part I'm unfamiliar with. This just slides right out. You want to be careful because in here, along here, there's a seal that you don't want to damage while pulling the axle out. Yeah. Huh. Yeah, there's grease on here. I'm assuming that's coming out of the CV plug, which is no good. Okay. Carefully slide the new one in. You gotta line up this spline on the end to get into the hole. And that's it. That's it. Okay. Now, before I continue, I'm going to just kind of get this dirt and rust particles out of here that were sitting here. I'm also going to just wipe down the edge of the steering knuckle. It doesn't have to be perfect, you don't have to really you don't have to make it shine. You know, just get the dirt and crap out of here. And sort of do the same thing for this. Wipe this down. Any loose particles, maybe lightly knock it. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm not a professional mechanic by any means. Barely a mechanic. I'm not even working. Okay. This I'm gonna point out. It doesn't matter which hole lines up with which hole on here. It's the same fucking shape all around. Spin, blah blah blah. Okay. Take spindle nut off. I got a new spindle nut. That's cool. Alright. And now we just gingerly slap that on. These are the hub bearing bolts. You can't really see past my leg. So we crank down on them extra fucking hard. Okay. That's tight. Alright, the next thing to do is okay, road is back up. This. Sometimes the bolts are fucking difficult to get back in. I just remembered that I used the socket wrench to get this off. So the socket, that's enough. Try again. Alright, now we got the cap. Don't forget that little curved washer. Push that on. Alright. That side is done. Now we're going to do the other side. The other side it's going to be a much faster video. I'm not going to be talking as much. We'll be back in a few minutes.